Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Coolbet Canada, the Listowel Squash Courts, and of course, Listowel Vision Care and See the Game. I'm Drury with Clarkey, and we are very pleased to be joined by one of our favorite guests and certified friend of the show, The Athletic's Sean Fitz-Gerald. Fitzy, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Listowel, the home of Jared Kiso and the spiritual homeland of Letterkenny.
That's right. And the home of Corey Connors. Let's not forget about Corey, all right? Swinging
that
the big
too,
stick.
I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
What happened to the Raptors last night?
Yeah.
You know what? I was playing beer league and not playing it well. I scored a goal, which is great.
Okay.
They scored 7, which wasn't. Anyway,
Oh, wow.
we had a couple guys on the team who at the very beginning, they walked in and they're like, we do not want to know the score. Do not tell us the score. We'll watch it when we get home.
Yep.
So after the game, after we got our butts handed to us, a couple of folks sort of furtively looked at their phones, and you could see who was checking because they were looking across the room at each other. And I didn't know exactly what the sign language was until I got to my car after and heard the damage.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I was sort of in the same boat. I had to play squash last night. We're going to talk to Alan McArthur from the Squash Courts in a bit, but I played squash last night. I saw the first half at home, and then I pushed the record button. And I thought, okay, I'm going to come home, watch the rest. Went out in the hot tub when I got back, and boy, that was a disappointing third quarter. Wow.
Your squash court
Anyway,
has
let's talk hockey.
Tub? Your squash court has a hot tub? Hold on.
I have a hot tub. No, I came home to the hot tub.
Is that part of the rest and recovery, or is that
correct? You have to do that at my advanced age. Yeah.
Okay. This show's quickly turning into a Just for Men ad. All right. I want to ask you a little bit. Speaking of scoring goals, now you scored a goal last night.
I think it was.
You know, I'm not going to get that corporate sponsorship here, boys.
No, I think you should. I mean, out of respect, right?
Going to get a marker and write Just for Men here. I mean, you know what? I'm going to brand myself next time I come.
Just for Men colors your hair. It doesn't make it grow.
Right, it's a scalp. Covers your scalp. Look at that.
I wonder genuinely what a company like that would pay somebody of Fitzy's stature to do something like that, to tattoo their logo on there, and even a henna for like a few weeks, you know, like I wonder what the price tag, like what would you charge for that, Fitzy? Like I'd be asking for at least a couple $100,000.
You know what? Like this is a lot of open real estate here. Who's saying it has to be just one?
Blank canvas.
You could get the front panel, you could get the quarter panel, like I got a phone. Give me a call.
The lower neck. Yeah, that's funny. You should talk to your bosses at the Athletic about some of these opportunities that you.
I'm going to get an agent now, boys. When we're done here, I'm calling an agent.
I love it, man. I got a guy. I'll
10% for us for the idea.
Come on now, like 2%. Let's be fair to the guy. He's going to tattoo his head, Clarkey. All right. So you scored a goal last night, which is always fun. And let's talk quickly about a guy that scored a lot of them more than anybody this year in Austin Matthews. 60 goals. He's the first guy since Stammer to do it in 11-12. And it's just unbelievable the tear this guy went on after a slow start by his standards, coming off wrist surgery, which is something long-term that concerns me for his ability to continue doing this. But in the year that he just had, was what he did in terms of bulging the twine this year, was that enough for you to say yes, despite McDavid's points or whatever else you want to say, Goudreau at even strength, all of it? Was that enough to solidify, yes, he is the Hart Trophy winner?
It's a tough one, right? Like, I mean, the Oilers aren't doing so terribly either. But
no,
yeah,
they're not.
60 goals is 60 goals. Is he the best? I mean, what you can say now is he's absolutely, that's a narrow conversation, and you're probably down to about 2 guys at this point, right? Am I willing to go out there and say one's better than the other? No, but I think, you know, if you're Austin Matthews and you look back a couple years, I don't know if you would have had that same conversation because Connor McDavid was so it seemed like so much further ahead. So I think maybe the biggest compliment that I'd be willing to step out to here is that, you know, that gap is narrowed. That conversation is now a conversation, you know? And I think, I mean, you know, for who's better, who's this, you remember the Taylor versus Tyler thing from 12 years ago? Taylor Hall, Tyler Seguin, who was going to go first overall. One was with the Windsor Spitfires and was with just a juggernaut of a team. The other one was with Plymouth, but also had this massive skill set. And then you go through the career, and then one year, one kid wins a Hart. Next year, kid wins a cup. And now I think, 10 years in, you're like, okay, who's better? Can you? Like, who's had the better career? And I think that's when the real meat of the conversation between McDavid and Matthews can happen. When they're 10 years in, and it sounds weird for Hall and Sagan to be saying they're winding down their careers, but they are. But that's when you take the full measure.
Who do you think will be the finalists? Like, who's that third guy?
That's a really good question.
Like, does Shesterkin get in there?
I think it's
I always
Gaudreau,
feel like it's biased against goalies.
Yeah.
I feel like voters compartmentalize business for goalies, Harts for forwards.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally you throw a defenseman in there as a pitcher.
But he's from New York.
Yeah, but
what does that mean?
It's a massive media market, but it's still hockey, right? Like it's sort of inverted on its axis. It's like, in the Canadian Football League, the biggest market in the Canadian Football League is Regina. And that's where a lot of noise can come out of, right? Like in the NHL, I don't know if New York is necessarily New York. I mean, certainly there's the East Coast bias. We all get to stay up, and more of us watch games in the East than in the West. So potentially, but I mean, that is the fourth paragraph in a newspaper story. Who is third? Because everybody's going to be talking about the first two.
You're right. And I think with Shesterkin, I think what might happen, justly or unjustly, because what a season, I think that what might happen is voters are going to go, well, he is clear cut the Vezina winner, that, well, maybe we don't need to make him a Hart finalist. And me personally, even though, and Yossi might suffer the same, and I should throw McCarr in there as well for producer Adam. I know he's screaming at the screen. I think those two are both so clear cut battling for the Norris that I think that they might get shafted in terms of the Hart conversation as well, even though they shouldn't. Personally, I think Gaudreau will be that third guy. I mean, he's got over 85 even strength points for the first time since the early 90s. It's insane what he's done at even strength this year. But I guess what it boils down to for me is when you talk to anybody in the league, the hardest thing to do in the NHL is score goals. And Matthews has done it at such a prodigious pace this year, more effectively than anybody else. And goals win games. And so I think that might, along with some voter fatigue on McDavid, everybody knows he's quite clearly the most talented upper echelon hockey player. I think that might push Matthews over the line. I'd vote for him myself, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting into the dynamics of, voter tendencies and burnout, you do wonder what, an anti-Toronto faction might be. As many people as love the Leafs hate the Leafs, if not more.
Sure.
Right? Like,
yeah.
It's sort of the old Howard Stern principle that you have a segment of audience that listens because they adore Howard Stern and a segment of audience that listens because they hate him. I feel like there's that way about the Leafs. So, that dynamic has to come into it too. You can't overlook 60 goals, but you also can't overlook the fact that Connor McDavid could at any second do something that gets on a highlight reel that your grandchildren talk about.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you about the anti-Leaf bias, but I also think him being an American is going to help him with the American voters. I really do.
The anti-Leaf bias, I'm just looking at your background there. Is that?
Thanks. Yeah. I'm not one of them.
I wonder why he feels that way, Sean.
Not one of them.
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be something if if it was Gaudreau, like all three Hart finalists from Canadian teams, 2 Americans, but still, like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm sure Gary loves it.
It's the trophy that everybody loves to talk about more than the Stanley Cup, for sure.
Yeah, Gary Batman. He must love it.
Jerry Batman, yes. I wonder as well, just in terms of not putting any pressure on pontificating about awards being given out. Sean, we've all watched a lot of hockey and seen a lot of great goal scorers in our day. And, you bring up Stamkos was the last one to do it. Of course, Ovi did 65 that year that he really went off. Just in terms of the guys that you have seen play, put into context for me just how good this season was by Austin Matthews. He joined a very rare, I believe he's just the 24th player ever to score 60 in a season, 24 or 25. Just how good was this?
He does things with the puck that goaltenders sort of talk about in quiet awe, right? Like shielding the angle. It's not just a toe drag, it's concealing where he's going to send it. The quick release, the power, the accuracy. These are all phenomenal things. And some of which, goaltenders, they say about not seeing before, but literally don't see, right? Like it's a really tough thing to do to score in this day and age. That I think you can take a look at the game's greatest goal scorers, and I think we're getting to a point in the game where you have to judge them by their era, by the era in which they played, and not overall, right? Like baseball, they try and compare through eras, but even then, you had pitchers like, Nolan Ryan and throw 185 pitches, and now you've got guys throwing 86 and they're pulled out. And is that the same? Like if you're a hitter facing a pitcher who's gone through the order 4 times in the 8th inning, like, is that the same as facing a new, like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Whereas if you take a look at goal scoring, like, God bless Wayne Gretzky, but he was shooting against guys who wore, bed pillows, who, stood up and maybe couldn't bend over all the way unless they maybe needed to get a smoke that fell on the ice or something. Whereas today, like, you have, goaltenders at the age of 7 learning the reverse VH, right? And crease side to side, working on their, crease presence, in practice at Tyke. And by the time they get up there, like, they're wearing, they're large fellows, they're wearing large pads, and they're absolutely machines and monsters in there. And you have, coaches that have video and tracking and all of this technology and all of this advanced training, and you got to go and score against that. And to get 60 in a game, 60 in a year is a hell of an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
I just scored my first of the season in beer league last night, and it was the season.
That was your first of the year. Did you get the puck?
No, they burned it.
They burned
it. They burned it. Every ashes into the sun.
Clarkey burns every puck that goes by him.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, so as we're recording Friday morning, last night, of course, Tampa lost, Boston won. So Boston's a point behind and still has a shot. They're playing the Leafs tonight. The Leafs are resting Campbell, Matthews, and Marner. What's the better matchup for the Leafs, do you think? Boston or Tampa?
We've gone through this where you're like, well, Columbus is a really good matchup. Whoops. You go through
Montreal was a great one. Yeah.
Montreal's a great matchup. You can't ask for anything. Oh,
whoops.
The fact of the matter is they've been doing this for decades, like literal decades. Like, how old do you have to be to remember this team winning a playoff round at this point? Like, you're what, a 3rd or 4th year university student?
I'm
right?
30.
2004, right? And so they got to beat everybody. But you got to start by beating one. I don't think, the favorable matchup thing, this team has reliably proven through these, 16, 18 years, that matchups really don't matter. They didn't make the playoffs a lot through those 18 years either. You just got to win. The matchups, nothing. You can face a team against Montreal that looks like they should have been golfing pretty early and then go and do what they did. You can face a pretty underwhelming Columbus team in the bubble and then completely fall all over yourself. You can have stars disappear and not getting a shot on net, not getting a goal. Like, at some point, which is now, whoever you face, you just got to win. It doesn't matter the matchup because, the Leafs have proven that they can trip all over themselves no matter who they're playing.
And you know what? What you said about the stars showing up, they better show up. Like, there's no question they better show up, or there's got to be changes. And Mitch Marner, looking for 100 points. I texted my buddy the other night. I said he's getting in playoff form. I haven't seen him come close to a point here in that last game, and he's not playing tonight, so he won't the 100 mark. He, I think, has the most pressure on him than any other Leaf, and I want to see how he handles this, and he better perform.
At this point, it's not a team that's too young and learning.
No.
It's not a team that is besieged by terrible injuries. It's not a team that, doesn't have the veteran presence. It's not a team there are no convenient excuses anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. And you can go back to last year's playoff collapse, and you can have, people who yelled and screamed on social media to say, you know what, this team doesn't have my heart anymore until they actually win a round. This regular season doesn't matter. And you know what? Austin Matthews, everything else aside, it doesn't. Because you know what? What does? What's going to define legacies? How we're going to remember these folks? That's defined starting Monday. Yep. Rick Vive was the previous record holder. When you think back to Rick Vive and those eras Leafs, what are you thinking about? You thinking about the glory of the franchise scoring record? No. You're thinking about how in the 80s, the Leafs reached a nadir nobody thought they'd ever breach until they breached it again in the last 18 years. No, this is legacy time. This is it. If this falls apart now, what do? It's not a tinker. It's something else. So, you talk about the Leafs with the most pressure on them. I think one of them is going to be sitting probably up in a media gondola, looking down at the team that he built, probably Kyle Dubus. This is go time. You have a record goal scorer. You have Morgan Riley. You have Mitch Marner. You have John Tavares. You have, not everybody you need. Do you have a goaltender? Well, I guess we'll find out. But yeah, everything we're talking about, the Shanna plan, the rebuild, getting rid of Lou, keeping Kyle, all of that stuff, the analytics revolution, it really comes down to here. This is the time where legacies are built, or this team just continues to be, the Cleveland Browns.
I'm glad you kind of said that, Clarkey. I guess I'll answer your question to Sean, more pointedly, because you summed it up perfectly there, Sean. It really doesn't matter who they play. At some point, these guys have to get something of substance done. I guess if you're going to look on paper, you would say they'd rather play Boston, which might surprise some people that I say that because of the haunting ghosts of Boston. But if you're going to tell me on paper that both teams are healthy with Vasilevsky at the top of his game and Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark at the top of theirs, no disrespect, those two played very well for the Bruins. Yeah. I guess you would say, and look at the forward depth too. And I'm sorry, all respect to Boston. I love Charlie McAvoy and Matt Grzelcyk, but they're not Sergachev and McDonough and Hedman and Schuster and Chernak. They're not those guys. So paper would tell you Boston, but paper, like Sean just said, means nothing and gets lit up into a burning pile of mothballs when the Maple Leafs play in the playoffs. That's just a fact. And I wonder too, you brought up Kyle Dubus, and I have a funny quick story about him. I talked to him last night for about 5 minutes. He was at the Sioux Greyhounds Guelph Storm playoff game. I'm sure he was having a look at some guys for the upcoming draft. And I had a quick chat with him just about the season and Matthews and all this stuff. And at that point, the Sioux was up 4-0. They ended up winning 5-4 in overtime. Guelph came all the way back. And at 4-0, he just said, and I swear to God, he turned around and looked at me and said, "Don't get too down. Everyone loves a comeback." That's what he said to me. And for a guy like that, after what happened last year, to say that is almost black comedy. Like it, I chuckled internally, like, geez, for Kyle Dubas to say everyone loves a comeback. I don't know if they do, Kyle. But I think that, again, it bothers me almost to a degree because Leaf fans, and Clarkey does this too, and I understand why. Leaf fans that I'm friends with will say to me, "Oh, well, it took your team and it took Ovechkin all 13 years and blah, blah." That was a very different roster with a very different constraint of salary cap, with a very different group of guys that were not all making $10+ million. Washington did retool a lot. They could afford to. They had room to bring in Semin, Jason Arnott, Mike Knuble, Fedorov. They had room to tinker. This team really does not. And if Mitch Marner, who's a guy that I agree is going to get a ton of pressure, and Matthews as well, let's keep in mind here, Austin Matthews has done absolutely nothing of substance to be remembered for in a playoff game ever. Has he scored a few goals? Yes, he has. He has not been a superstar that dominated a series and led his team to a series victory one single time. I can't remember a single game, even in games he scored in.
All right, Ryan, all right.
He's the best player. No, I'm being serious. And I think...
No, you are. But I've heard it before, but from you. We've heard it enough.
I'm going to make a statement here. If this group of players cannot eventually, bar win a round, win a Stanley Cup with this type of salary structure that they went all in on, they will be the most let down, embarrassing group of talent ever assembled to never win anything. That is my opinion. That's pressure.
I mean, just on the Austin Matthews point, I mean, we do remember Austin Matthews playoff games, and it's because he wasn't being played enough. Remember Mike Babcock? Remember that guy?
Patrick
remember
Marleau
those games? We
draw.
remember those games because Patrick Marleau, who is 112 years old, was playing, being double shifted in the third period, and Austin Matthews was getting, 30 seconds. That we remember that. So, I mean, the whole of the playoff scope for Austin Matthews, the story hasn't yet been written, obviously.
You're
but
right.
Part of it wasn't his own doing. He wasn't the author of his own fate at that point, right? Like that was just some obscene coaching decisions that have never properly been explained. But yeah, like the legacy for this, I don't know if it'd be, I mean, you can go back, like, there's some Leaf teams where they'd go in and, they'd go out and they'd spend and they'd bring in, a Brian Leach, they'd bring in some pretty big names, they'd load up and before the salary cap, and then they'd go in and not do the thing they were supposed to do. Is this the worst ever? I don't know. Like, they still needed goaltending. They weren't able to get goaltending. It's not the perfect setup to say this is the Monstars from Space Jam and they're absolutely going to win. What I'm saying is that I think this is a legacy for this group is constituted, that this is going to be how you remember them.
Yeah. The reason I said it is because, and your point is fair. Like all the times that they brought in Leach, Francis, Owen Nolan, I still remember that. There was no salary cap back then, which has thrown a ton of strategy for every team. Look at Chicago and LA having to recycle rosters and still win Stanley Cups. Pittsburgh. The reason I say it is because are they the Gretzky Oilers or the bossy Trottier Islanders? No, they're not. But it's not fair. I thought of a comparison the other night. Somebody brought up to me. Remember the Winnipeg Jets and God rest Dale Hawerchuk and those great teams he led.
Remember the Vegas Golden Knights?
The Vegas Golden Knights.
Right.
Yeah. But the Hawerchuk Jets, an unbelievably good team, could not get over the hump of Edmonton or Calgary, running into juggernauts every year. There's no salary cap. You could keep teams of 6 or 7 future Hall of Famers together if you could afford it. And eventually Peter Pocklington couldn't. So I think the reason I made that statement
These
that
guys
this
are
will be the
making
worst
beer money in comparison to what they're making now, though.
That's what I mean. They are not the Monstars. Sweet reference. Original Space Jam. They're not the Monstars, but they're being paid like they are.
But then, even then, like, not really. Like, they're making lots of money, but I don't know. And now you're going to get me sounding like a socialist here, but no, they're making lots of money, but are they being paid? Like, Bell and Rogers are multi-billion-dollar companies. Are these guys really, truly being paid their value? Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's economies of scale. Like back then, what the league was worth and what players were making, and now we're talking value for services rendered. No, I think if they flop, it'll be historic. People will scream. Jobs will probably sadly be lost. I mean, I'm just trying to wrap my head around is it in all of history the most cataclysmic, dramatic flop? I don't know. Like, literally, the Golden Knights just went out and got Jack Eichel and didn't make the playoffs. Like that's, if that was in Toronto, like there'd be things on fire right now.
Yeah.
I agree.
Downtown. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's worse.
That's my point, though.
We're judging these
Vegas
leagues against the context of the fact that this franchise has been a garbage fire since 1967.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, I'm just checking through my list of excuses.
Clarkey, you haven't been a garbage fire since 67.
No, I haven't. I've been just checking through my list of
17
excuses.
max.
I use the list of excuses every playoff season. But right at the top of the list is the officiating. And
Here we go.
Well, wait a minute. You have nothing to say about officiating. I read your Twitter every once in a while. But my question, though, is, Sean, is it going to be like, just do whatever you want again in the playoffs? Or do you think they'll actually keep calling how they've been calling it? And in particular, cross-checking, which Montreal cross-checked their way to the final last year.
They cross-checked their way to the final.
They did so.
Oh my
That's
god.
a pretty harsh judgment.
They did. They broke ribs.
No, I mean,
They never scored a goal.
I have questions with how a professional sports organization can have a set of rules in a book, nicely typed, single spaced, widely available.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when it gets warm outside, nobody can find the book.
Thank you.
But that's not just for
I agree.
beloved heroes who play at 40 Bay Street. Like that's all across. That's sort of, accepted axe murder for 2 months of the year. I don't fully understand that. I don't know how that enhances the product. I think that hews to something that, hockey used to appeal to 50 years ago. Certainly, that's not necessarily the hockey that's being played. We're paying skills coaches again at very young ages to develop this incredible skill, not break ankles like Bobby Clark on a Russian. Like it's you're paying obscene amounts of money to go watch skill and not have somebody ride them like a coattail. So yeah, I don't know why it's like that. I would hope it doesn't continue, but I also wouldn't bet your money on that changing.
I think that any of us listening or watching would get severe alcohol poisoning if we played a drinking game to hear the amount of times that we are going to hear the word in reference to the way these games are officiated, battle. That is the NHL's favorite word when it comes to their officiating. And anytime criticism is levied toward Gary Bettman and Stephen Walcom, who has the biggest part to play in this as the director of officiating, the amount that is their crutch word, the battle of the playoffs, guys battling. And it's an excuse and a cop-out word for when their officials let Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin and whoever get hemorrhaged in front of the net by defensemen, and it doesn't get called. It's a weird way to run the championship tournament of your sport. When you're right, Sean, the rules are very black and white, we think, based on the book that's available.
Do officials call a different set of rules in the Super Bowl than they do in week 2 between the Broncos and the Giants? No. I mean, it doesn't mean that, things are inscrutable. I still don't know what pass interference is. But if you're offside in week 2, you're offside in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Here you cross-check somebody, you hold somebody, you impede somebody, you obstruct somebody in, October versus May. I don't know why those things get forgotten. I don't know if I pit it on the individual referees. I suspect it has to come down from up top, because if change really was being advocated, it would be very easily advocated from up top.
I completely agree. And I'll say this, there will be some wild articles written if Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews in particular, just being where they are in terms of the status of the game, if they don't draw any penalties in this playoffs. Like last year, like McDavid didn't draw a single call. Like it baffles the logic of the mind. It challenges your human perception of logic, internal logic, when you go, these two guys, for my money right now, are the best players in the league for different reasons. They have the puck constantly, and they don't draw penalties. Why? Like basketball, LeBron James took 30 free throws a game, it felt like, because someone sneezed toward him. Like basketball, the star player, like if you flick a guy, it's a free throw. Not hockey, though. The battle. It's all about the battle. I don't know. It's bizarre. Who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup?
Are we placing a wager here? Are we wagering with my money or with Clarkey's money here?
Always Clarkey's money.
Clarkey's hot tub money? Are we wagering with Clarkey's
That's
hot tub
right.
money?
Yeah, if the Leafs
That's
get
right.
put out, Clarkey has to sell the hot tub and give the profits. To
I probably make a pretty good profit. I bought that pretty cheap, and nowadays it's probably about 5 times. Anyway.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was just down in Tampa on a family vacation and watched the Lightning lose to the Montreal Canadiens in a shootout. So I'd want to say Tampa is pretty well positioned to go again and run it back. You know, they've got the goaltending, they've got Victor Hedman, they've got, you know, they've got the band back, but I've also, you know, seen them stumble a bit down the stretch. And they don't have anybody who's been on IR since October, ready to jump back through the curtain and step on stage like they have in the past. So, I mean, I'd say Tampa, and I think maybe Colorado. Those would be my top 2.
What a final that would be.
Tampa.
Clarkey, what do you think?
Oh, well, I
fast.
mean, let's find out who Tampa's playing first. Like, I can't pick Tampa
Okay.
without knowing. No.
Just pick the Leafs and move on to the West.
the Leafs, Calgary.
Okay. The Leafs in Calgary.
Yeah.
Something I don't know what it is about Carolina that just jumps
No
out at me.
way.
I love Carolina. I don't know what it is.
That's gonna
and
come back
and
to
I
haunt me.
think Calgary will get there in the West. I'm sorry, Adam, with your Colorado Avalanche.
Well,
I
how
don't
many games
know,
before Kadri gets suspended? That's my question.
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
And then you know what? I'll give you a dark horse too. I love Minnesota. Something about Minnesota with Fleury and Kaprizov flying around, and they're a team that's built for this battle, you know, system with the playoffs with Foligno flying around out there. Something about old Minnesota. I like that team a lot. Dean Evison, former Caps coach. I love it. All right, Sean, we really appreciate this. We've wasted a ton of your time. Good luck with the sponsorships.
Thank you.
And let us know if you land one, and we'll have you on the show.
Oh, you'll know if I land one because it'll be right over here.
Absolutely. He is
Thanks,
Sean
fellas.
Fitz-Gerald, senior writer with The Athletic. We always appreciate his time. Thanks, Sean. All right, we'll take a quick break here on Instigating. When we come back, our friend Alan McArthur from the Listowel Squash Courts, one of our great sponsors, will join us here on the show to talk about the end of their men's league season. Clarkey, is he going to climb the ladder? Who knows? We'll talk about that next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Coolbet Canada, the Listowel Squash Courts, and of course, Listowel Vision Care and See the Game. Thanks to senior writer with The Athletic, Sean Fitz-Gerald, for jumping on with us and swap and talk on the game we all love, hockey. Now let's talk about another game we all love. And, well, I don't know if Clarkey is necessarily in love with it anymore. Let's talk to our friend Alan McArthur from the Listowel Squash Courts. Alan, how are you?
I'm good. I got the inside scoop on Clarkey. I got it all.
Let's
so hold
hear
on. Let's set it up. Let's set it up. We've been having a ladder all year. You know, it's Jacob's ladder, and he's basically run away with it. Now, Alan's run in the last 2 weeks, I guess, the year-end double knockout championship tournament.
Yes.
And we're down to our final 3, aren't we, Al?
We are. Yes. Do you want to?
Who's the final 3?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it a bit. Like, you don't have to get right into it, Chris. We can. Okay. I'll show you how have you been in the tournament? You're in the tournament.
I'm in the tournament.
How you been doing?
Well, I think I've had COVID, and I haven't got my lungs, and I cough and I cough and I cough and I cough, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
So I've struggled with the I've been a little tired.
It does take a lot of stamina, right? Like, and
it
COVID,
does.
I've heard that from a lot to people. COVID has just knocked them down. So I get it for sure. So this is the A side.
So we got to also tell people who are just listening to the show here. We're showing a chart with the double knockout tournament. The top half is the
we got the playoff bracket here, the NCAA bracket.
Yeah. So the top half is for the people who have not lost, and the bottom half is for the people who have lost a game. And then if you lose 2, you're out. Right. So where are we now?
So we started with Chris there, right?
Yeah. And Randy. Yeah. Win for Chris. Then I played Bill Watson. Good guy. Stop 23.
Chris.
Yeah.
Or Chris.
So and then Chris.
Still Chris.
Yeah. He's
no way.
He's there.
So I'm there, Ryan. So all your little jabs, I am in the final three. I am there. Okay. So
wow,
I lost the game. I did lose a game, but I'm in the final.
I gotta be honest, man. I'm like genuinely, I mean this because I feel like Sean Fitz-Gerald and I ripped on you for a good half hour. I'm genuinely proud of you. Good for you.
Man. Thank you. Yeah, we had,
genuinely.
And last night we had to do back-to-back games to get to the final three. And I was tested last night. It was a fun night. Played Rob. What's Rob's last name? Rob Martin. And I beat Rob, and then I had to play Alex Parkhouse, and Alex never gives up on a ball. And I was panting and I was out of breath, and I somehow came back twice with him having 10 points and going to overtime and beating him in overtime. Twice. I beat him 3-1, but 2 of them went into overtime. And it was a good battle, but yeah, I'm there, Ryan. I'm there. Final three.
Last night would have been good. I wish I would have been here to see. It would have been some really good matches, good rallies.
Standing room
lots of sweat. I had to mop this morning a lot.
Yeah, yes, good. Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure you did.
I gotta be honest, seriously, Clarkey, if you make the final, I'll come watch. I feel like producer Adam, we gotta come and do a full show like production. It'll take up the bulk of the next episode, and which will be good because at about that time, if my math's correct, the Leafs will be eliminated, and so we can use this as a lift up, an inspirational story for Clarkey and all of the 416. You can be the cover of Drake's next album, Clarkey.
Well, let's set it up, and I'll play Jacob, and it won't be the final because the final's tomorrow. So, but let's set it up that we'll come. We'll do a show there. We can set up top, Al, and we can do a show, and I'll play Jacob. And like after about 2.5 minutes, when he beats me 3-0, then I'll come up and finish the show in my sweaty self.
Sure, and I'll take Ryan. I got Ryan.
You're gonna play Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, deal. Okay,
that'll be quicker than
Ryan plays Al and
the other game.
No.
Yeah.
So Greg Ford beat me. I wasn't in the game. I had a terrible game. I unforced errors. He's a good player, but I had a lot of unforced errors. I served the ball out like 4 or 5 times in the first game. Like you can't do that against a top player because it just sets you back. So anyway,
okay,
that's the way it goes. But
whatever you say, Andy Roddick.
But then tomorrow, when the finals, and then the all the people in the league get to play a pro, right?
Yeah. I have Cameron Seth coming down. He's originally from Fergus, going to school at Waterloo now. He's 6th in Canada, so he's up there. Like in comparison, I'm 4,169 in Canada. So hey, Ryan, you keep that number in mind, right? But he's going to bring his brother down. He's his brother Avi is top 20 in Canada. Recently won the Canadian University Champs. He's up there. The whole family's insane into squash. But Cameron's been talking to me the last few years, and he's going to come down tomorrow and play everybody in the men's league, kind of as a perk of being in the men's league at Listowel Squash Courts.
Isn't he going to get tired playing everybody? You better play Jacob last.
No, it was funny because he's like he wanted to be honest, right? And I've talked to him a lot, and I've been really honest with him. I'm not a great player. I'm just a regular guy. Chris knows this. He's played me. I'm just a regular guy that liked squash and felt a need for it in the community. So brought it here. But we're talking with Cameron. It was kind of funny because he was trying to be humble about it, but he's like, "So how many guys?" I'm like, "Well, 20 to 25 guys, probably." He's like, "Okay, give me an hour and a half, 5 minutes a guy. They'll be lucky to get a serve." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "There's only one guy you maybe have to watch about is Jacob." And I still have to touch base with Cameron to see if he wants to play him first while he has all his energy, or
no. He's got to have some sort of he's got to play him at the end for sure.
At the end, you think? Yeah, you give him a handicap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love the immense confidence antler that he's got on. That is some showboating. I really love it.
I mean, you make it to pro, you got to be able to.
Dude, it's a different game, right? Like these guys are just another
Joes
level.
versus pros. Yeah.
Ryan, if you're around tomorrow, Saturday, the the 30th, stop on down around 3 p.m. He's going to be playing all of us. The finals is at 1 p.m. But if you come down and check it out, it's going to be some intense squash. Like even the finals is going to be pretty crazy. There'll be some good matches.
I would love to go. Unfortunately, as our listeners of CKNX Junior Hockey will know, I will be in Stainer.
Yes.
I will be in Stainer, 2:30 puck drop, which, I mean, now I guess now's the best time to bring that up.
Go Mitchell.
The Mitchell Hawks and Clarkey's son-in-law is the equipment manager, Ducky. We love Ducky. The
Josh
Mitchell
Keel,
Hawks.
GM. Yeah.
Josh Keel, our buddy. We've had him on the show.
Louis, the
GM.
coach. Yeah.
Louis Livingston, great guy. Holden Lansing, Listowel legend. Yep. They have now, they've got, after Thursday night's game 3 in Mitchell, a 2-1 lead following 2 overtime wins over the Stainer Siskins of the Carruthers division. And boy, 2 more wins, and the Mitchell Hawks will be the first North Conference champions from the Pollock division since Louis Livingston's 2013 Wingham Ironman, who of course lost the finals to Essex. So it's a big deal around here. This is a big local story. The Mitchell Hawks, and I will say before we continue this squash conversation, what a comeback, because the Mitchell Hawks, basically the entire team was sick and could barely play in game 1, and they got waxed 8-0. And then they went into Stainer on last Sunday, and what a gutsy effort with a 3-2 overtime win and then 4-3 in overtime on Thursday night. Stainer, 2:30 puck drop Saturday. Sunday back in Mitchell. It's going to be wild. All right, now back to squash.
Hey, yeah, okay.
No,
another question.
Yeah.
Another question for you, Al. Can you walk back to the chart?
Yeah.
Okay. So, no, the chart, Ryan. Just so you know, there was like a top bracket and a bottom bracket. Okay.
Yeah, the top was the undefeated.
No. But there was another like.
So the league we split up into 2 divisions basically. So we did the top and the bottom.
Yeah, I was in the top.
Yes. Yeah.
Just to be clear, I was in the top. Now,
And
if you look at the bottom division, and if you can zoom into the bottom story, there's a name there that we'll recognize. Our Bal Sabby. So, what happened to Steve, by the way?
He just ran into some time issues and it just didn't work out.
But he played a game. He didn't do
he started. He started up here. And then dropped down and then was unable to make it. So
now who's on the top? Who's playing in this bracket at the finals?
Well,
come on, this is your chance to pump your tires.
Yeah. So I started right around there. Right? You can see kind of how this goes, Ryan.
Alan. Look at that, Ryan.
He's in there.
So I'm in there. I play my semifinals tonight. And
tonight?
Wayne is like the Joker to my, if I'm Batman, he's my Joker. Like he's been on me all season.
If I'm Batman, he's my Joker.
Is that good? Was that the right one? You guys like more sports related ones, though, right?
That's so good. Come on, hit me.
Yeah. So no, we've played so many matches, and honestly, Wayne is like, me and him are just, we've battled in the middle of the league, hard, and we've had most of our matches go 5 games, and if not overtime, like 15, 17, like insane matches. And just like, they're the nights that I have to debate, do I go home and do I sleep on the couch or do I have a shower, right? Because I'm not getting into bed if I'm smelling like you're just dripping of sweat, trying to get at that ball. And those tight matches in this league have just been just awesome, even to watch. Like I find myself stopping in here some nights just to check out what's going on with the men's league and who's playing. But it's been really good. It's been really good, and it's all about the members. Like these guys have been awesome to me. They've been working with me. It's the first ever squash anything in Listowel, so I'm really just kind of trying to figure out what works for the guys, and they're really they've been awesome working with me. It's been great.
It has been fun.
You've been awesome to work with in terms of us, and I know Clarkey loves it, and Sabby, of course, our buddy, is big on it too. And I mean, it's an incredible facility. Like for anybody listening or watching that wants to go down there and get active and get into squash, like the facility is really, really top end, and you run a really tight ship over there, Alan. Like, how can people tell people who maybe aren't familiar how they can get involved? You guys have a Facebook page. You're easy to find. How can they get involved and become a member?
Yeah, so I'm huge on social media, Instagram, Facebook. I really try to keep up on those and keep those people in the loop. I try and keep up on the website as well, listowelsquashcourts.ca. People can give me a call at 418-4444. Alan at listowelsquashcourts.ca is my email. It's really easy to become a member. The first time I'm usually meet you at the courts, you do your consent form, which is a one-time thing. I keep them all on file, so it's after that, it's pretty simple. If you become a member, which we have lots of different membership options, range from $70 up to $350, depending on your budget and how much you like to play. We pick something that's going to suit you. We get you the keyless entry fob, so you just tap in and out. We get you signed up with Club Locker for the online booking. So that's how I knew my overall Canada ranking. So that gets thrown in there too. It's actually kind of cool website. I don't know if Clarkey's looked at it much, but they break down your games and kind of give you some graphs and stuff to kind of look at. And
mine's pretty good.
Yeah. I haven't looked at yours. Is it all green?
Well, close. I have one red or two red, both to
Yeah.
Jacob for sure. But
Right. Okay. Yeah.
no, it's fun. It's good. I like how they do it.
It's neat. So we really try and keep it simple. So after you're signed up as a member itself, you really don't have to see me if you don't want to see me. A lot of these people are coming in and playing, book online, show up, tap in. If they want me here to check out the pro shop and some rackets and some balls and stuff, they can message me and say, hey, listen, I play tomorrow or I play next Monday at this time. Can you stop by? And I swing by and make sure they get everything they need, and we carry on. So it's a facility that I really like to try and tell people to treat as your own. Make it feel like it's yours. Walk in, take everything out that you bring in, and carry on. Everybody's been happy so far.
And you're doing some restringing now if you have a broken string.
I am, yeah. I'm trying to keep everything in-house. So I sell new rackets. I have the used ones to use, and restringing. Members get a bit of a deal on restringing. And it's neat because I can kind of keep your file, and if you like it your string's a little looser, a little tighter, I can adjust and we can carry on. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
And what's the plan now for the summer and fall? Are you going to do anything in the summer when it comes to the league? Or are we just going to pick it up in the fall, or have you decided?
So the league I'm going to keep running. I think I'll keep it open, drop it down to once every 2 weeks, just because everybody gets so busy in the summer running.
So you won't
around
drop me down to like 15th if I miss a week?
Yeah, it depends, maybe. No, I think I'll just try and keep it a little more relaxed that way, and keep it as more of a social end. So guys can jump in and find new guys to play. It's been great for that. People connect with people in their same caliber of play. So it's awesome to get some good games. And then September, we're going to fire it up. We're going to go hard. I'm going to try and get women's league going as well.
Nice.
Really pushing for that. Get a men's league, maybe double the size. So I was up to 29 people. I would love to hit that 50 mark. Give everybody a lot of people to play, a variety, see different people's playing styles, check it out and play them. So that's going to be the idea for September. And then I want to hopefully end off with a Patty Fest tournament to end the men's league, with the pro coming back down with another pro. So he's going to bring another guy with him, and they're going to play each other. So we're going to sit around and we're going to watch a live pro match, right? Like it's going to be something that Listowel's never seen, and a lot of people in Listowel will never see. So kind of open up that end of it too, and let people see when they walk in on a Thursday night and check out Chris and Steve playing, how it can, you guys are good, but these pros are just, like you said, it's another level, right? It's a whole nother level.
At least another level. Yeah. Probably five other levels.
At least another. Yeah, absolutely. And, if you're going to do that, like the Patty Fest thing to end it off, get the pros down, I feel like that is something we should mark on the instigating calendar to make sure that we are in attendance for. We should probably get some cameras on that. So producer Adam, book that ahead for next March, if you please. Alan, we appreciate this, man. The facility's great. I'm glad it's doing well. I certainly hope you can get a women's league rolling. That would be awesome. You can
get Kate out there.
I'll try. Well, Kate's pretty busy with ball hockey right now, so but she runs the league and refs it, but I'll drag her over there. Absolutely.
My girlfriend Sue has come out a couple times and she enjoys it, and she would love another female to play. So maybe get Kate out there and they can play.
Okay, I can make that happen. So yeah, again, Listowel Squash Courts. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. You can email Alan, of course, Alan at Listowel Squash Courts. I mean, it's easy to become a member if it's something that you're thinking about doing. I highly recommend it. The facility's fantastic. Alan, we appreciate you doing this, brother.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Al.
All right, well, that's it for instigating. Unless Clarkey, you have one final thought.
Well, this is it. This is put up or shut up time when it comes to the Maple Leafs. And like by next Thursday, we're going to have a good indication of how things are going. And I can't wait to talk and go Leafs go. And this is their year. I'm telling you right now, this is their year.
On the golf course. This is the year they all break 80 at Coppenwood. Yes. No, we'll see. I hope that happens.
Mid-July, maybe. Mid-July.
Mid-July.
Yeah. Mid-July is fine. After the parade.
I almost kind of hope it happens for you.
Thanks,
probably
Ryan.
Probably at this point, 55 years, you probably deserve it, don't you? All right, that's it for instigating. You can watch this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV. That's channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. We debut on our YouTube channel Fridays at 9. You can follow us on social media at Instigating Pod. We appreciate Sean Fitz-Gerald and our buddy Alan McArthur for joining us. We'll be back next week with more Instigating.
Go Leafs, go.